We're over in Essex, and this lake's had a lot of work done recently because they had a big oxygen crash in the summer. So yeah, they've dyed it, had a lot of weed removed, done a lot of tree work, which is about time, to be honest. I mean, there's never going to be a shortage of trees around here, but it needed opening up. It had to be opened up. Just years and years and years and years of rotting leaf, and this side of the lake's more tricky because it's less access. So yeah, we're going to divide this up into lots of different channels and do some electrofishing as well. Just show the club what's going on today, so they can make any informed decisions about potentially adding more stock in years to come. So yeah, hopefully we'll catch some nice fish. So we're going to be electrofishing in the more intricate bits around the margins. And we're going to shoot 4 nets, 400 metres, basically to divide it up. Obviously with islands and different bays and stuff, you've got to divide it up. But with this lake, we just divide it up as best we can, electrofish the margins. It is all over the place, it's a bit up and down. Like I said, it's just recently had a big hit of dive. They did lose quite a few carp due to the oxygen crash, but to be fair, it was inevitable in places like this because people always look for the easy options, barley straw and stuff like that, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet. You know, you can only keep allowing leaves so much and just not neglect from the club, but just concentrating all your efforts on putting fish in when really your efforts should be on managing vegetation and managing trees and managing lilies and weed. There's lilies everywhere, so it's always a bit of a game. Get these nets shot. Stood now, it's really silty here, really silty, hasn't been done at all. But this is what I'm on about with the undercuts. So you go right back here, and then you can see that under there, but then I can get my leg as far back as my knee underneath that bank, and my leg's there, and it goes back that far under the bank, and that's more than enough. That's where the fish were. You can see on the footage when there's electrofishing under here, you need to be under there to catch those tinies. It's not that they're not in the lake, they're in the lake. These matches are always a problem, because you have a match and people are expecting to catch loads of silvers. Well, it wouldn't matter. F1s or whatever fish you want to put in, they're under those margins, which is why we say, look, if you're going to have a swim there, gut the undercut, get rid of it, plant it up, and the fish will keep following it round and you'll catch them. And this is just from a fishing point of view, in this specific, especially in a club water like this. It's just what we see every day. I always say with lakes like this, the harder it is for us to catch fish, the harder it will be for anglers. So if we're struggling because of debris and snags and weed and stuff, that is basically how it'll affect your fishing. We're not talking about specimen fishing or big carp lakes. This is a totally different game. This is club waters. So for instance, if the fish can hide under the margins, if the fish can hide in snags, if the fish can hide in weed, most club match anglers and pleasure anglers aren't going to catch them very easily, because they'd rather just whinge because they're not catching. But when you've got 50 pound of bream and roach under a little bit like that, you know, you could just ship a pole over here or just clip up and just put a tiny little feed or a tiny little bite, and you'd catch those tiny little fish if that's what you wanted to do. But it's nature. You know, everywhere you go, they're going to be hiding from the birds. It's not new, it isn't a new thing, it always happens. But demands of anglers now are so, like I say, they try and compare a club water which costs 100 quid a year to a commercial which costs 10 quid a day or whatever, 15 quid a day. It's a shame they've done that, aren't they? And you can't do that. It's chalk and cheese. I love these lakes. These lakes are great. Grew up fishing club waters, and there's a lovely challenge, but then we'd sneak round and bait a few spots. There's never anyone here. And you could catch loads of fish, pre-baiting swims, lovely, just creeping round, you know, a bit of sweet corn, a bit of maggot, whatever, a bit of pellet. It's ideal. And a lot of you know, decent anglers, they never moan, they keep it quiet because they don't want anything to change. You can't blame them. It's always that, there's always the few that love a good whinge, so there's not enough fish. But it wouldn't matter if we caught £2,000-3,000 weight in here, you'd still have people saying there's not enough for them, for their needs, for their wants to try and catch, make it really easy. But in my opinion, there's enough fish in here anyway. And having lost a few in the summer, that's a good lesson. Now they're springing into action, doing a lot of good work, but the key is not to put any more in. Okay, so we've landed 2 nets and electrofished these little channels and under the banks, and we've already caught 2, 3, 4, about £450 of fish actually seen and caught, plus that's without silvers that are tight under all this stuff. And so we do get people say, oh, leave all that, it's good habitat. I don't agree. I must admit, I don't agree. I think that's doing nothing for the water, and it should be vegetation. It should be plants, useful plants. Because at the minute, and all this shit that is stacked up here is going to end up back in the lake. Unless you get work parties on there, clearly I'm going to scrape it all back in the middle, but a lot of it's going to end up back in there. And these banks are really undercut. Yeah, basically, where you can see it goes underneath there, and it's all like that, and that's where the silvers are. Erosion, you're not going to stop it, unless you won't stop it with tree roots, unfortunately, and all this crap. That's just, look, all that's just going to end up back in there. So anyway, it's very frustrating. But how you do stop it is grading and planting. But again, that has to be done properly, ideally with the lake lower. Get it lower, grade the margins out, and plant it up. You see all this teram and wood and stuff, and people say, oh, well, it's worked for 20 years. Yeah, but you could have had vegetation there, which is going to help with a bit of algae prevention and things like that, instead of teram and wood and metal. You know, we always want, and bulrush and Norfolk reed. If you're going to have nothing, all that, have that. But I still don't think they're the best things to have. But there we are. Nice perch, so it's lovely. So basically, again, I think there's another 15 or 20 carp in these reeds. They're thick in there, they don't want to come out. Scared a couple of 3 out, which are nice. There's plenty of carp in the lake. Varying different ages and conditions, but most of them are absolutely fine. And that's the trouble, you see. As soon as anyone loses any fish, people would then easily write a fishery off, and they say, oh, you need more because there's none in there. I think often that's the kiss of death. If you've lost some, there's a reason, and just by putting more in isn't the answer. Understanding why you've lost them is the answer. Some of these fish are 20, 30 years old, there's loads of them. Gnarly characters. Hold them 2 up. Look at that. The perch. Yeah. Lovely couple of fish. Delightful. Good. Today, this one reed bed, which isn't the biggest reed bed, but this is where a lot of the carp wanted to sit. There's a lot of them in it. A lot of big carp in these reeds. There's a lot of roach and bream like this, honestly, good amounts of them underneath the banks. So if the probe's here and you're going near the bank, don't come out. If you go almost like to the edge, you've seen it when it's low, the lake sort of goes down and then underneath, and that's where the silvers are. It's like some days they're in those reeds, today they're underneath the banks.
Yeah, we don't see too many cormorants during the day, but
no, they're gone. By the time we get here at 7:30, they're gone. People don't understand. They can fish quite happily at night.
Right.
and they'll have patrol routes. You know, they'll probably come here, and what it's about, what we've learned is it's about trying to get them so that they don't spend much time here. So if you make it a bit more difficult, because people think if you leave loads of snags, it's great for the fish. I don't believe that, because the cormorants know exactly where to go. So if the cormorant can land and he goes, all right, they'll be in the reeds. No, they won't. They'll be under there. It takes some seconds to figure that out. Whereas if you do what we always keep suggesting, which is make it a lot more uniform, get the fish moving, and give them, I suppose, in areas, it would be more places to hide. The whole lake becomes more of a habitat for all fish. Yeah. Then if the cormorant has to spend too much time here, it'll go somewhere else. It's like an otter. Same with an otter. If they have to spend too much time for their reward, they'll go somewhere else. Or they get disturbed by people come 8 o'clock. So all those things are relative, and they work because there's enough venues that follow this through and keep doing it, and they're full of silvers. And you think, well, there's cormorants everywhere, but you've seen on some of the videos, a lot of the lakes we go where people say there's cormorants, they're full of silverfish. But a lot of them are lakes that actively are, you know, just working the lake really, rather than continually putting more fish in. But we've had it before where we've netted lakes and they've got small fish on order because they're not catching many, and then you net a bit like at Eastwood when you just net a section of the lake and there's hundreds and hundreds of pounds weight of them, you know. But it's what's there's healthy and good. I always say with a fish kill or a mortality rate, when something happens in the summer or the spring and you lose some, the worst thing often you can do is put more fish in, because the lake's telling you why there's a problem. It's almost irrelevant if it's an algal bloom, low oxygen or a disease. It's still the lake telling you, right, hang on a minute, we've reached a point where there's something wrong here. And then the knee-jerk reaction by a lot of clubs is you should put more fish in, which I don't think is the right thing to do, because you haven't learned why there's an issue. But by learning what is going on and then slowly building it back up again, you end up generating more fish than you know what to do with if you do it properly. But nice lot of carp. Right under the bank, right under it. They're not near it, they're under it, and that's very normal. There's a lot of bream and a lot of roach. I'll do 8 things at once here. So wherever you go anywhere near the margins, that's where the dilly fish are. And they're so tight under there. Good bream and roach, but they're so, it's spinning out bream right under the margins, and that's where they're going to go. They're hiding from birds. That's what they're doing. And every little bit where there's cover, there's some silverfish. But you should know that as an angler, and you should be going, right, well, cormorants are everywhere, and to catch these fish, if you want to catch target small ones, you need to be under there, because that's where they're going to be. There's a lot of them, hundreds of pounds in weight. We're just tickling what we can see. But it's interesting. There's still plenty of fish in this lake, and to be fair, I wouldn't put any more in. I'd just leave it and allow a year or two of just having it sorted out. Let it naturally reproduce, because you're wasting your time putting more silvers in, because you can see the ones that are slightly bigger, they're getting hit whenever they come out from under the margin. Very normal, it is what happens. savagely undercut as well, so plenty of places for fish to hide. It's always been one of the main problems with these sort of waters. So many places for them to get away from your average angler. Ents like this, there's so many places they can just sit. Unless you catch every single one, people think there's not enough, but we're turning them over. You just got to safely be able to catch them and handle them. Some pretty fish though. It's just pretty dense. Can't even get in there. Mind your backs. Can't even get in there. Bigger than there.
Lay down the wall, walk out the door, break through the firing line. Hold your head still, a winter that fills the silence inside your eyes. Flashing of stones, ringing of home.
Good, so we've landed one net, caught some nice fish. One of the main things to remember is, it's really important, if you have a fish kill or a high mortality rate, it's because the lake's telling you there's a reason for that. So the worst thing a club can do after an immediate fish mortality is buy more fish, in my opinion, because if the lake's telling you that there's not enough oxygen or there's a problem with the lake and they're dying, it sounds common sense, but a lot of people just go, oh, we'll put some more in. And you're not learning anything by that. So it's important to do this sort of work before you do anything like that, and adjust what you're doing. So I think we need a solar aeration system out on this island, clear the island, solar aeration system, splash either side. The solar ones are getting better and better. That will help this in times when it gets low, and all the work they've done with the trees will help as well. You know, all these little things build up to helping. So right, we're just going to catch some fish now. So we've got lots of nets in the water. We've just landed the first one. The net's okay, but like I say, it's normally horrendously full of weed and lilies, but they do keep eating away at it. But now at least they've done a bit of tree work. And you know, people do love a moan, but you can't just leave everything. The more you leave it, the more work there is, and you're just passing that work onto someone else. And it's just such a blinkered view to say, oh, we just leave it to nature, you know, it's very cold today, we'll just leave it, it's all fine, this is a special way. I don't agree with that, because everything needs managing. If you're going to put fish in it and expect to look after fish for a long time, and yeah, there's lakes where just a lot of it's by luck. People can go, oh yeah, but these have been in here ages and we don't do much. Yeah, low stock pits, no problem. But if you don't, that's like saying, well, we leave it to nature so we won't put an otter fence in, or we leave it to nature so we won't deter cormorants, or we leave it to nature so we never stock any fish. Well, come on. You know, the demands of modern anglers are such that you're really screwed. You've got to be doing something. You know, and this is all relative to the type of water we're talking about. If you've got a lake which is just exclusive bookings, carp fishing, specimen fishing, you know, very chilled out, low key, then it's no drama, because the sort of clientele of angler you're going to get are good and understanding, and they're just there to enjoy the fishing rather than just be constantly moaning they're not catching anything. And we seldom go anywhere where there's not enough fish. We really don't. Good, we landed one net. So a couple of things. These swims, when we build them, they just look like a couple of sleepers, but from my experience, what I've learned is you're going to get erosion anyway, especially on the front of the swim where there's no plants. You're going to get erosion because of the wind and fish activity and stuff. So what we do, and there's a lot of videos of us doing it, is we build a base out of flat sleepers, but then the important thing is to put returns on all of them. So when you put a return in and you interlock them, basically what happens then is you know you're going to get erosion, but by building a platform with the base sleepers are going out into the water flat, big contact area, and then the front bottom one is flat as well, and they're interlocked. So that way, technically, you can have a good old amount of undercut and the swim won't move. You can, how we like to build them, like flat and level, wherever possible, obviously. Well, you want them flat and level anyway, but if you can have them decked, you can then, if you want, if you make them 150s width, you can then screw timber decking in them for the sort of more of a match thing. But I don't like building platforms out into the water. We have done, but I don't really like doing it because just makes small lakes look even smaller, and they're a bit of a death trap. Match anglers love them because they can get the bloody keep nets off them, but I'm not that interested in that. That one there, you see, that's concrete under there. And that won't move. We've tidied it up in the past, but that ain't going to move anywhere. But yeah, when it's soft clay, you're going to get erosion. But it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to shoot this net while I'm here, actually. Also, it's worth noting as well, when you do snag removal, things like that, if you only do half the lake, then it stands to reason a lot of the fish are going to go and hide in the half you haven't done. It's a bit like otter fencing. We go places and they've otter fence half the lake. It's like, okay. It's like locking your front door but leaving all the windows wide open in the summer, and the conservatory open and going, oh well, I've locked the door. It's just not worth the hassle. But yeah, I'm sure we'll find carp around the islands and stuff, but unfortunately, unless you catch 1 million fish every time you do a club water, then there's always a small percentage of the anglers that just, they love a moan. Oh, I can't catch them. No one's fished this peg for ages, or any of the ones along this bank. You can argue someone might come down here on a Saturday, but most people are fishing over the far side, which, if you were feeding the far side, you know, that's half the problem here. You want fish moving and active, and the comparison between commercials where they're busy all the time because people are putting food in and moving around, then it makes a big difference. Whereas on lakes like this, where only a small percentage of the lakes getting fished, again, these have a knock-on effect because fish are creatures of habit and they'll go where the food is. Like my colleague Matthew here has just pointed out, we built these swims a while ago, and this is the main difference between the sort of a club type water and what you class as, you know, carp fishery. If carp were around here, carp anglers would just follow the fish around. Whereas the swims that are really, really busy and worn down are the nearest 4 or 5 to the car park, and all these have hardly been fished. Dead bream there. yeah, I mean, these have hardly been fished, and it's a real shame. You know, there's a big difference between, all right, if you want to come out for the day and just sit and potentially maybe catch a fish, great. But if you actually want to put the effort in, sometimes you need to walk around the lake a bit rather than just fish. You know, we're all guilty of it, it's no drama, but at the end of the day, you can't then moan if you're not catching, if you're not willing to go where the fish are. That's basic fishing, basic angling skills. Go where the fish are first before you start moaning you're not catching anything, because yeah, we see it all the time. But it is exactly what Chip said, is that all of these swims have hardly been touched, hardly been fished, compared to the 4 or 5 nearest the cars, which is normal.